What's happening, family? Dr. Joe here. Hope each of you are well and blessed. I'm excited about this special presentation of Village Chat because, as we know, the world is different. Our country is going through a lot of changes, a lot of turmoil, and this particular subject matter revolves around health insurance, which has not been what we have known it to be heretofore. Things are constantly changing. We're living in an environment where nothing remains consistent. But on today, we have an individual who is going to be here with us. He's a specialist in the field. We're going to get into a lot of different details and elements of this particular conversation. And I feel good about today's conversation as I do all of them because he personally cares for our family, for myself, my wife, and our children. We've reached out to him on innumerable occasions. So I know firsthand that the information that you all are about to receive is grade A, top notch. And I want to introduce to our family on today, our guest, Mr. Dave Musgrave. Dave, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here with us. You know, I know you have to be just, first of all, before we get into that, because I got a lot of questions for you, tell us who you are, what you're from, and what your specialty is and what exactly you do.
Yeah. So, my name is Dave. I live here in the Kansas City metro area with my wife and my two kids here. Big Chiefs fan, born and raised. So last night was a good night for us. But yeah, I got into the health insurance scene about 4 years ago. Never could have imagined I'd be in it, but I have a huge passion for people, for helping them, for really getting to know them, and then kind of finding solutions. And I've learned that health insurance is a great avenue by which I can accomplish that. And so I'm not one of those guys that is out here fired up about health insurance. You kind of have to be crazy to love some health insurance, but I am fired up to be able to have those conversations to help those people and actually make an impact. So that's what I've been doing those last 4 years.
Wow. Well, thank you. Not only thank you for what you do for others, but thank you for how you've cared for our family. You've done such a great job. You most times talk to Lynette. You know how that works, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Salute to all the wives out there who really run things. But we really thank you and appreciate all that you do. Now we know open enrollment is coming up soon. I'm certain that you're in like a whirlwind. Can you tell us exactly what open enrollment is, what it means, and what it exactly people need to do within the time frame?
Yes. So right now, as you and I are talking here, about 20 million Americans are enrolled individually on the health insurance marketplace. Okay, so outside of health insurance through your job, if you're over 65 outside of Medicare, outside of state Medicaid, anything like that, the marketplace is the biggest insurer of Americans currently. There's a lot of other avenues, but the marketplace, of course, is the biggest one. And what open enrollment is it's that time period, November 1st to December 15th, where the new plans and the new pricing come out for the next calendar year, where folks need to evaluate their plan and make the decision on what they're going to choose to do next year.
Wow. So 6 weeks.
6 weeks. And we typically in years past, we've already had plans and pricing out. But of course, with some of the craziness going on with the government and it being shut down, we don't have those prices or plans in hand. So we're hoping it comes out November 1st, but frankly, your guess is as good as mine. We'll see if those prices come out here soon.
And that makes sense because, I mean, if the government is shut down, we don't know what's going to happen moving forward. You all have absolutely no way of knowing what is going to be and what's not going to be. So it's like you don't know anything, just like we don't know anything.
Yes, sir. It sounds silly. Yeah, it sounds silly, but you're exactly right. But hey, it's kind of the name of the game in the health insurance world. The chaos. I've grown to appreciate it. I've grown to like it because then in chaos, you really do get to be that voice of reason and really get to make an impact and help some people. So I'm sure it'll be chaotic just like years past, but I'm here for it and we're ready to lock in.
Wow. If we had more like you, we'll be in great shape, Dave. Well, I'm sorry, but as one of the points of contentions between the two parties during the government shutdown is premium tax cuts. And we know that, I guess my question is it true that if these tax cuts are not included in the new budget moving forward, that premiums could rise as much as double? That's what we're hearing. Can you speak to that?
Yes, sir. Great question. Yes, there's always that possibility. And so what those tax credits are doing for
Mhm.
you or I, the idea is that it can make health insurance more affordable and more accessible to people. And so the challenge that the government is walking through right now, regardless of what, political aisle you fall on, or, just purely what's going on, is those tax credits come COVID, they really were expanded to make sure as many people as possible can get health care. It's great.
Mm.
Now, what happened is they were expanded year after year after year to now we're kind of forced where there's these expanded tax credits from COVID. The government's not wanting to pay that money anymore. But then if we take those away, it gets really unaffordable for people. And so the argument there is, do we expand it because it costs a lot versus do we take it away unless people get insurance? So that's the tug that we're going through right now. Now, to answer your question clearly, every year it's health insurance. Every year those rates go up a little bit, right? If those tax credits are taken away, yeah, those premiums can increase pretty significantly. There's a couple states where I've seen a few peeps of prices, and I have seen some folks' plans approximately, go up 30-40%, even as
Mm.
high as 50-60%. And so it's going to go up. Um,
Right.
we don't have we're not certain on what it's going to go up to, but it'll probably go up.
Got it. Well, you brought a lot of clarity to that, kind of going back to COVID, how those, cuts extended to encompass COVID. And now that makes a lot of sense in terms of why the two sides are fighting. But, you hear a lot of things from both sides and you really don't know what to believe, how much of it is politics or not. So that makes a lot of sense. So now that we're entering the open enrollment from November 1st to December the 15th, those 6 weeks. And when people are shopping for insurance, where do people go to shop for it? And what should we be looking for while we're shopping?
It's a great question. A lot of people I know, just friends or family, especially before I started here, just kind of they typed in healthcare.gov on their computer and they started looking. And they started scrolling. And the standard things that folks look for, or that at least they think should be important to them, are things like the deductible. If I get in an accident and I have to go to the hospital, how much is it going to cost me? Is it going to be $1,000? Is it going to be $10,000? What's that going to be? Right. Some of the other important things typically to people are doctor's visit copays for prescription drugs, kind of what's the cost to use the plan. Now, of course, I'm biased because I'm in the health insurance scene and I'm a broker, but I
Yeah.
would argue having some type of expert or someone that you can lean on, even if that's a parent or a friend that knows it like the back of their hand, can be so helpful because they've been in the scene for a long time. They can take into account if they actually care about you and care about your well-being, they can really take into account your situation
Right.
to find the carrier, the plan, the setup, the deductible, the copays that'll fit best for your family.
So that makes sense. And that's something that a lot of people aren't accustomed to. It's almost like you're ordering you're going to a buffet and you're building your own plate, and you
Mhm.
and it's like if you don't like desserts, then you don't need a plate full of desserts. You may need to get some more steak and potatoes or things that are really going to service you, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
So
well,
just to take your family for example,
sure.
I talked to you and I talked to your wife mostly, like we said
Yes.
earlier and joked about, but I talked to her year end. Hey, right now we got you on this health plan, we
Right.
got y'all on this dental plan, we got y'all on this vision plan, and so it's now for other folks that I talk to, they don't care about dental or vision. For other folks, the plan that your family on, it wouldn't fit well because their doctors might not be covered. So it
Mhm.
is it's not a one size fits all. It's a let's grab this over here, let's grab this over here. This is going to fit you guys really well, and let's put it all together and make it happen for you guys.
And that's why, to your point, Dave, that's why it's important for people to have someone like you who knows, because like at the end of the day, having that guidance can help make the best decision. Because I know, Lynette has called you and you've helped us tremendously, because at the end of the day, we don't see this stuff every day. So, having someone like you who, knows what to look for is very, very great. Now, when we're entering enrollment season opening on November 1st through December the 15th, how do we compare? Is it a situation to where I look at my plan now and I'm assessing the new plans. I would imagine everything changes. How do we compare our current plan to other plans to know if it's something should we leave where we are to go somewhere else? What are some things that maybe people can look for?
Great question. Yeah, typically what I do in my process personally is I'll see what plan I'm on right now.
Hmm.
What's it costing me? What's my deductible? What's my copay? And then I'm gonna find the most similar plan benefit wise next year. Okay, so if my plan right now has $1,000 deductible, and when I go to the doctor's office, it's a $25 deductible, and I'm with a carrier like Cigna, just to throw one out there.
Hmm.
Okay, then next year I'm going to say, okay, let's find a Cigna plan where my deductible is going to be as close as possible, and my doctor's visit copay is going to be as close to $25 as possible. And I'm going to see, okay, are the prices going to match up?
Hmm.
That plan has worked for me and the prices match up. Great, let's make that happen. But that's how I go about it. Now,
Hmm.
as we talked about and touched on earlier, the prices might change dramatically. So we might have to look at raising the deductible for some people to keep the costs lower or something along those lines.
Wow, that makes sense. So basically, you want to start with where you are, find the plan that's closest to it. That makes sense. And maybe if things have changed, then you can allow your selections to be based upon needs, I would imagine.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
that
And
makes sense. Mm.
of course, healthcare, people aren't super fond of healthcare. People don't love health insurance. So for the folks out there that are on a plan that doesn't work for them at all, or they go to the doctor's office and they're told they can't be seen because their doctor is not in network,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those aren't abnormal circumstances.
Hmm.
I would encourage those folks, let's start from ground zero.
Hmm.
Get a base of the doctors that you want to see, get a base of the prescription medication you're going to take, and then you just kind of go on the hunt of finding a carrier that's going to line up affordable costs for your prescriptions, make sure your doctors are in network, and start that way. It'll take a little more legwork,
Hmm.
but typically a little more legwork upfront, I've learned on the back end, can result in a better plan for folks.
That makes sense. And thank you for that. That's great information. Now, I want to delve into a question, and I want to ask a general question that I want to explain it. And my question is: are people using health insurance incorrectly? And let me tell you what I mean by that. When I say that, I'm let's think about car insurance. It's almost like we're trained to not use car insurance unless you have to. At least that's how I was brought up. A lot of my peers and friends kind of think the same thing. You don't call your car insurance for everything. You really don't want to use it for that. So, and that's what I mean in terms of health insurance. Is health insurance the same? Are there things that we can learn to better use our health insurance? I don't even know if I'm posing that correctly, but I hope you can catch it.
Man, that is you and I could sit here for maybe an hour
Oh,
and talk
wow.
about this.
Okay. All right.
um, that is such a good question. In my personal opinion, I would say that there's a much better way to use health insurance than kind of the status quo or what people tend to do.
Let's
The
get into
biggest
it. Yes.
so the biggest challenge of healthcare, and I think everyone could agree on, is one, the costs are astronomical. And then number two, if you go in for a surgery, you have no idea what that's going to cost you.
Yeah.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. If you got to get I have no idea. You got to go get your gallbladder removed. Is going to this hospital going to cost you $7,000, and going to this hospital is going to be 10, and going to this one 15? Sure, that's probably a pretty good guess, but we have no idea. We learn after the fact once we get the bill, right? And so there's a big push right now, kind of a trend, I would say, of what's called direct primary care doctors. Think of it as like a subscription for a doctor, right?
Mhm.
Where the doctor is not going to take your insurance. You're going to pay a monthly fee, just like you pay a monthly fee to Netflix or to Hulu to watch your shows, but you're going to pay it to a doctor's office. And that way you have guaranteed care where you can actually see the doctor rather than wait a couple months to get in there. But then anything that you need done, whether it's a checkup, whether there's some tests that need to be run, labs, you can get that done and it's not ran through your insurance.
Mm.
So that's a big push. Now, of course, the downside, as with anything, is that's an added monthly expense to folks, which some people can't do, and that's completely understandable. But there's a big push there. Um, I've over my last 4 years, I've really looked at a ton of bills, a ton of claims. Me personally, I've learned that if people choose to like self-pay or cash pay initially, that can really lower the cost of some of the bills and the claims. Now, is it a perfect solution every time? Of course not. You're not going to cash pay or self pay for cancer treatment. People don't have that much money laying in the bank. But if it's some type of doctor's visit, labs, if it's a X-ray, the average national average is a 60% discount if you self pay versus running it through insurance. So that's a way to get the cost down. So
Wow.
there's kind of a lot of rabbit trails on there, but to put it all together, I really think in the next 5 years, we're going to see a new way of kind of utilizing health insurance that breaks the status quo of what you and I have been used to for the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And that makes it's almost like we're at a point of critical mass now, and we can't afford it. I mean, the country can't afford it. That's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation. And like you're saying, we're going to have to see innovations. Things are going to have to be done differently. I know telehealth, through AI and, online is going to be different and things of that nature. So that's good to know. What is it called? Direct care. Can you say that name of,
it's called direct primary care.
Direct primary care. Got it. And
Yes,
I
sir.
know some doctors, actually, we had a doctor on, Dr. Michelle Cook, who was on this platform. Her practice is built like that. And a lot of people swear by it. They feel that the care is better. The pricing is more controlled, although it is a cost, but the value is there. And that's what people are looking for. So that's something great for people to look for. That's excellent. I want to segue into the next question. And that is, how do we get the most out of our health insurance? And what I mean by that is, what are some things people are not doing that maybe we could to maximize the value? You know how like when you have maybe like a Amex card, there are different benefits that you have and you never know about it until you hear about it. What are some things that people can know to really maximize health insurance?
Yeah. Biggest thing that comes to mind for that question is cost analysis. So I'm not the brightest guy on earth by any means, but numbers make sense to me. Okay. So whenever I'm saying cost analysis, to break that down practically, I like taking the full scope of a monthly cost into consideration.
Okay.
That's going to be including the monthly premium. That's going to be including if you're seeing a doctor, or if you're taking the kids to the doctor. What's that copay once or twice a month going to cost you? What are your prescriptions going to cost you, right? And we get this full, it's not just the premium per month. What's that full cost going to be each month? Then we can kind of break it down. Hey, if we look at it from this point of view and we get a higher deductible plan, okay, if you're going to save a couple $100 a month, but your prescriptions are a little more, you might come out ahead financially. Would that make sense? Or you're taking a really expensive brand name medication, and if we get a higher tier plan, your monthly premium is a little more than you're comfortable with, but perhaps the copay for that brand name prescription, we can drop it down some. And so the biggest thing that I would encourage and advocate for people to do is taking that full scope, not just a gold level plan, right? Look at it holistically, look at it as a whole. What can you do to maximize the monthly financial aspect of the health insurance? Or if you're like my family and I, we're healthy. I've been on the same plan myself for 3.5 years. Kid you not, I haven't used it one time. I haven't gone to the doctor one time. I've done 2 telehealth visits, just like you were talking about earlier. So for me, it's more important that we have a more affordable monthly premium. My family and I are blessed enough where we don't have a lot of conditions. We don't take medications. And so for me, it's more affordable. I'm okay with a higher deductible if something were to happen because we're not using it a whole lot.
Well, that's great, and blessings to you and your family. Hopefully, it stays like that. That's awesome, and that's great to hear, because I know a lot of people are plagued, by that. Let's talk about prior. I don't know what it's called, but people who have pre-existing conditions. If you're coming into the market, or if a person is trying to leave one plan to another, are there considerations that I would imagine that need to be taken when you have pre-existing conditions? And if so, how can those who may have them use this knowledge as they're shopping through open enrollment?
It is important to take it into consideration. Okay. on the individual market, outside of the marketplace, there's really 2 to 3 other types of plans, types of health coverage we can look at for folks.
Okay.
Okay, anything outside of the marketplace, it's going to be important that we take those pre-existing conditions into consideration, because some things outside of the marketplace might have some exclusions, might have some waiting periods where it's really important that we understand that. Now, the marketplace, however, legally cannot exclude coverage for pre-existing conditions. They're not allowed to deny folks with pre-existing conditions. So as you can imagine, it does help a lot of folks that need medical help and are plagued. Absolutely. So anything like that, if I'm talking to someone that is going through some type of chronic diagnosis or currently going through cancer treatment, it's not that I don't want to inform them of the other avenues we can look at outside of the marketplace, but I would be doing them a disservice if I get them on a plan with a waiting period for something pre-existing or an exclusion altogether, because what they're really going to be using the insurance for is for that treatment or
Right.
is for medication, right? And so the marketplace, surefire way. Now, does that mean that carriers aren't going to try to deny it? They might, they want to make their money. However, once we push back a time or two, I've had great success getting those claims and getting all that covered for them, if that makes sense.
So no, it makes perfect sense. So once again, you're almost you're an advocate for your clients. And,
Yes, sir.
and I would imagine that there are a lot of things that you can help them do, not that they can't do on their own, but more efficiently.
Yes, sir. Yes. My bread and butter, I don't like calling myself necessarily a broker. I like saying, hey, I'm an advocate for people. I'm an advocate to help those with health situations. Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. And I know that's going to help a lot of people. Couple more questions. I'll try to keep it at 30 minutes if I can.
You're good.
Dave, why is it always a cat and mouse game when it's like, and I'm going to paint the picture for you. You go to the doctor, you get blood work, you're seen for whatever the reason. I think this has happened to all of us. And then 6 months later, you get a bill and you don't know what the bill is for. It's like, what is this for? And sometimes it's an accident. We've had it to where we've called them and it was covered and they just sent us the bill. I know everybody watching has seen that. I guess my question is, when these bills come in the mail, what is there a certain sequence we should follow? Should we call the insurance first? Should we call the doctor's office? I'm certain you've heard this. Can you help us out with that? What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, it happens almost every time you go to the doctor, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
I mean,
Hey, man.
you go and you think it's all good, and a month or two down the road, you get a bill in the mail. Like, what is
Right,
this? I
right.
didn't expect this. Yes, I would definitely say there's a sequence I typically follow.
Okay.
The first thing I do is whenever that bill comes in, I want to make sure that the doctor's office that I went to billed my insurance carrier.
Okay.
And I would say a good 60-70% of the time, it's not even billed. It's not that the carrier denied it.
Wow.
It's that the insurance carrier wasn't even ran, right? And so if that's the case, then I call the doctor's office. I say, hey, I just got this bill in the mail for X amount of dollars. Can you please run this through my insurance company? Here's my ID, here's the phone number to call them, all that stuff. And then 3-4 weeks later, normally that's taken care of. So that's
Wow.
the majority of the time.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. The minority of the time, thankfully, or at least in my experience, whenever the insurance carrier has been ran and it seems like it's been denied, or they don't pay out, or they don't pay what you're expecting them to pay, the first step I take, just because in my experience it's easier to get a hold of the doctor's office rather than a massive insurance carrier, I would call the doctor's office and just say, hey, I was under the impression this was just going to cost me a simple copay of $30. I just got this bill in the mail for $200. Can you kind of share with me why I was billed that, and have that conversation with them? And normally at the end of that phone call, it's pretty clear, okay, I should call the insurance carrier and ask them to reprocess that claim.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. It's all the kind of the bills and the claims, it all comes back to medical coding, right? How does a doctor's office send what happened in the office to the insurance company? There's a few different ways to code. We don't have to necessarily get into that, but in short, the coding, whether preventative, whether diagnostic, it's going to be paid differently on the insurance plan. And I've learned that there's often a misunderstanding between the carrier versus the doctor's office versus you and I as the consumer or the client on how this is going to be covered.
Wow, that's excellent. For you to say 60 to 70% of the time, it's just the doctor's office didn't send it to insurance. That who would have? I never would have thought that it would have been that major. So everybody who's watching, it's like whenever you get a bill off of default, call the doctor's office and ask, was this sent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
that solves the issue majority of the time. Yes, sir.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for that. Two more questions. One is, I know you find a lot of situations to where people are trying to get treatments, scans, MRIs, secondary specialists, tests, and then the insurance company will deny the person. I know a lot of times there's advocacy from within the doctor's office, but the way the medical industry is set up, the doctor doesn't really have time to advocate like they need to advocate for. I guess my question is, if a person is denied a treatment by his or her insurance, are there things we can do? And if so, how should we handle that?
Wow. Yes, there are things we can do. Absolutely. The biggest, I'm not sure if this is my experience talking, I'm normally a glass half full kind of guy. I'm pretty optimistic. When it comes to insurance and insurance carriers, I'm pretty pessimistic, right? I've learned their business. They're in the money making business. You know, they say that they want to help out and all this sort of stuff, and sometimes that's true, but oftentimes it's been proven to me that they want to make a buck. Okay, so whenever it's denied, there might not even be a whole lot of cause or a whole lot of reason why it's denied, other than they might just say no because if they deny it, maybe they don't have to pay for it. Okay, my default, I go straight to an appeals process. Okay.
Appeals process. Didn't even know that happened. Please continue.
Yes, yes sir. I'll give you an example. Okay. I have a lady that I've been helping out for the last year and a half.
Yes.
She lives out in Las Vegas, Nevada. She had a couple scans. Unfortunately, she's been healthy her whole life, but this last year has been pretty poor health. Turns out that she's at a major risk for breast cancer. So she was getting scans. She needs some procedures done, and the carrier the whole time is denying everything. Denied. This scan, denied. This scan, denied. Doctor's office is trying to set up this call with the carrier to try to help her out. And the carrier is just saying, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to have a phone call. Everything's denied. And it gets down to crunch time where we're 3 days out from her scheduled pre-op. And then the next day is going to be her actual operation, and it's still denied. She's just like, I have to do this, and thankfully we finally get through to someone at the carrier. We get escalated to a manager, submit an appeal, get the appeal expedited, and it actually gets approved right about 22 hours before her pre-op was going to begin.
Wow.
So thankfully we were able to get that knocked out, and she had this was her official procedure that was last Wednesday, thankfully. Last we heard, insurance had approved it. Now, are they going to come back in 2 weeks and try more funny business? I hope not. We have written proof that it is approved. But yeah, the name of the game is, don't retreat, right? We keep appealing. We keep saying, now, if there's true medical reasons and you just want to get something done because you want to, or it's elective, insurance carriers don't like the word elective. Right. But whenever doctors say, hey, this is necessary, this needs to happen, this is for your well-being, this is for your betterment, then we have some ground to stand on, and we can push back and make that happen.
Wow. So people can't appeal.
Yes, sir. And you do that directly with the carrier. Yes, sir.
So if I'm rejected, Joseph Williams, can call the insurance company myself.
You can. Wow. Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
And I tell them I want to appeal whatever rejection of scan or treatment.
Absolutely.
Wow. People, I never knew that. That is amazing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I hope, I wish her the best in her healing. I can only imagine the weight that was like for her to have to go through that and then have to deal with, the impending cost of this uninsured treatment was just horrible. So That's great, and I pray she's doing well. One last question, and I'll give an example. Lynette and I went to a dentist. We were trying out a new dentist. Did not like the experience. Um, the dentist was fine, but it was the administrative parts that we didn't like how it was run. So we just, although we liked the dentist, we just felt, hey, we're just not going to go back. Well, anyway, in going there, they told us, hey, this is covered, this is not covered, you need to call your insurance. And I had never gone to a doctor's office where they were telling me I had to call in for something. And this is my question. My question is, are there places that we can go to on our own insurance to where we can get a better idea of what is covered and what isn't before we even get there, so something like this doesn't happen to one of our listeners?
You bet. You bet. I don't know the dental practice that you went to by any means. But whenever I hear stories of that, I don't think it doesn't sound like they went the extra mile to actually try to help you out.
Yeah.
Okay. With anything like that, if we're talking about some sort of dental procedure, if we're talking about a medical procedure, the standard process for them to follow, they should be able to get you an estimate of cost before you get it done.
Great.
Now, they don't always like doing that. They don't always offer that up on a silver platter and say, here you go.
Right.
But if you ask, they are able to run your ID card. They're able to see the benefits and coordinate with the carrier to give you a good idea. Hey, this much is going to go towards your deductible. And after your deductible is met, here's about how much you'll be looking at.
So when you say they don't like to do that, do they not like to do it because it requires more administrative work on their end?
Yes, and oftentimes they'll gonna make it pushback, right? If someone's expecting it to cost them X amount, but it's going to be a little bit more, they might get that pushback.
Yeah, they want to slide it in and then throw it out at the end.
That's right.
I got it. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. So any person who has insurance can easily go to the carrier of their insurance and find out, or they can request it from the doctor's office. So basically, that request is something that a doctor's office should do.
Yes. Don't go to the carrier. The carrier won't know because the doctor's office or dentist office, any place down the road is going to charge you a little bit different, different price. Different doctors cost different amounts of money, right? And so the doctor's office is going to be who's going to provide you that information.
Wow. Excellent. This has been great, Dave. Thank you. There are two more things I want to do. I want you to give closing comments. Open enrollment is happening from November the 1st to December the 15th. You educate us for the marketplace. Tell us whatever last tips that people need to know, whether they are trying to get insurance or whether they already have it, in whatever way you want to feel is important.
Yeah, I think the common conversation about health insurance or healthcare, it feels like the sky's fallen, or at least that's what maybe the media or the news is going to tell us. And just like I said earlier, sometimes with carriers, I'm a little glass half full, but hey, I'm an optimist. I believe that there's going to be solutions out there. There's going to be plans out there that we can find for people to actually help people out. Now, is it going to be a constant tug between cost versus benefits? Absolutely. But that's just kind of how life is. You do that with car insurance, you do that with house insurance, the cost versus what you get. Sky's not falling, changes are coming, but there's going to be plans out there, whether you're looking to retire, whether you're unemployed, whether you're self-employed, there is going to be a solution out there that you'll be able to find.
Wow. All right. So please take some time and share with them your information, your company. If they want to, if someone's listening and they want help, what do they need to know, Dave? And what I'm gonna try to do is, I don't want us to rush through this. I want to put on a banner what you say, and then that way people can see it clearly. So you go ahead and let me know what they need to know, and we'll put it on the screen.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, my name is Dave Musgrave. I'm here in Kansas City. I work for a health brokerage called Apollo Insurance Group. And so we specialize in individual health insurance options. We also help out with employer coverage, life insurance, Medicare, everything like that. But really our bread and butter, 95% of our business and time and energy is invested into individual health insurance options. So whether it's marketplace coverage, whether it's those 3 options outside of marketplace, if we need to cut the cost down, or you're healthy, or you need something to travel with you really well, we have options that kind of suit anyone.
Mhm.
And really the biggest part of our business, or I would say the best part of our business, is kind of the personalization aspect. We're not
Mhm.
here to have you on the phone for 5 minutes and slam you into a plan.
Right.
That's not our style. And my first phone calls, my boss tells me if I'm not on the phone with them with at least an hour,
Wow.
that's not good enough. We need to get to know
Wow.
them. We need to understand their situation, right? We need to know what product's going to be best for them, and really take our time and really draw it out to make sure whatever we're looking for is going to be best suited for them. And so if that's something that you
Hmm.
feel like you could benefit from, if that's something that is enticing, again, I'd be more than happy to sit down, have a phone call, have a Zoom meeting just like this, and take a look at the situation to see what we can do to help you out.
Great. Well, give me the website or number and then I'll put all of this on the screen. We'll bring it up as a banner. You can check it, and then they'll have
Mhm.
it.
Phone number
Okay.
816
816
831
831
9220.
9220. Okay. All right.
You want
Website?
website or email address?
Okay. Whatever you want to give me.
I gotta look up the website, honestly.
That's fine.
While I'm looking up the website, let me tell you the email.
That's fine. Okay.
Email is my first initial and last name, so D Musgrave.
Musgrave. Okay.
Yep. At
Okay.
Apollo, APOLLO
Mhm.
dash
Mhm.
insurance.com.
Okay. Got it.
And then website is just apollo insurance.com.
All right. Great. Check this out, Dave. See, be certain I got it right. Dave Musgrave, Apollo Insurance Group. Phone number 816-831-9220. D Musgrave at apollo-insurance.com. Website www.apolloinsurance.com.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, I highly recommend Mr. Dave Musgrave. He's personally taken care of our family, and he's done so in a great way. And my wife is a tough critic, Dave. So when my wife gives the salute, I know you are thorough, and I know I never bring people to this platform because I want to be certain that people are not only getting good information, but people are getting people that will take care of them. So I can personally put my stamp of approval on you. Dave, thank
Thank
you
you.
for being my special guest. Don't go anywhere. So just hang out for 2 seconds, Dave. All right. And then I'm going to come back out after I give my ending salutations. So hold
You
tight
bet.
1 second. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us on today. What a great conversation I had with Mr. Dave Musgrave. I hope you have received a lot of information. I know I'm enlightened. You see all of his information on the screen for those of you who need help, and you don't need to live in the Kansas City area in order for him to assist you. We're here in Atlanta, and he has assisted us for several years now, and we thank God for him and for that. I hope you all are well and blessed. Until next time, we'll see you. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Journey Life TV. Until next time, be well, be blessed. We'll see you on the next one. Salute.